Welcome back to The Line. The city of Santa Fe was more than 5 months late in submitting its audit for the year ending June 30th last year. The tardy submission wasn't the only problem. Internal controls, a lack of documentation on the cost of construction projects, other financial management shortcomings were just some of the listed problems. For example, the city misstated the amount of bond proceeds from 2016 by $280,000. And about $35,000 in uncashed checks were discovered last fall in the desk of a city purchasing officer. Inez, I want to start with you on this. Interesting in the release of this information. Mm-hmm. What do we make? Are we being unfair if we say about the Weber administration that releasing this idea late on a Friday to kind of take on the weekend news cycle and let it kind of slide? Is that too harsh? I mean, some people are saying that. Some say it was just a matter of the man was busy during the day and this is the best time he could do it.
I think they would say is as soon as we got it, we let you know. Aren't we good? But obviously they wanted it to get as little coverage as possible,
right,
because it's not his problem in the sense that he wasn't the mayor when all of it started, but it is his problem because he's got to fix it. And if he doesn't fix it, his term will be a failure.
Right.
So I think he tried very hard to say, this is going to be bad, it's going to be terrible, get ready, get ready. And then once it came out, he was like, well, there it is. See, I told you it was bad, and now here's what we're doing to fix it.
I gotcha.
Now the problem is are those things working? Is it actually being fixed? And that's what the press and the citizens have to really stay on top of.
Right. Is it your sense that this was a major boondoggle, a medium weight problem, or just the typical things you would see in an administration? A lot of money's moving around, doesn't necessarily every dollar doesn't get tracked. That happens. Is this that bad, or is it?
No, I think it's that bad.
Okay.
They did not have financial controls. I mean, one of the things that for years had happened because the way the office got set up is that one person could get into all the accounts in the city.
Right.
And they didn't have necessarily anyone overseeing that.
I see.
They had a system where they were taking cash. They would look at the drawers and then they'd say, oh, we need to balance it and get $1 out of a jar.
Right.
And then if they had extra, they put $1 in the jar.
No kidding.
So it was just sloppy all around. And that doesn't mean anyone was stealing. It doesn't mean anyone was even wasting. It just means they didn't know where they were.
Right.
I mean, if you own 50 cars and you only can track 37, you're not doing your job.
That was part of that thing. Julianne, they looked at a bunch of random 29 assets, so to speak. And they really couldn't come up with a value for a bunch of them. And that's not a good thing, especially in tight financial times, isn't it? When the taxpayer's expecting.
And this is not the first time that the Santa Fe city finances have come under scrutiny recently or in the not so recent past. You had a big parks bond, $30 million they spent all over the city. There was, widespread evidence that money wasn't tracked very well, that it was used in ways that didn't match with what the public were told.
Right.
People are saying, where's my water fountain? Where's my bench? Then you have the McCard report, which was something that the former mayor and his administration commissioned, which came out, right around the time he decided not to seek re-election. And that showed, one of the things Inez mentioned that, not only would they use the jar to balance the drawer, but then at the end of the month, if there was any money left in the jar, everyone could go out to lunch.
Wow.
So,
really? Nice system.
I think that the city finances are incredibly, they're massive and complex. It's this out of control bureaucracy. I covered City Hall as a beat reporter and sat through many a finance meeting where there were discussions about, why can't we get a straight answer? There was a problem with the wastewater and water fees that had been collected from residents, and there was this massive amount of money, and they were still, gacking us for our water rates. So this is not something new, but I think Inez is really spot on when you say that this is Weber's to lose.
Gotcha.
If he can fix this and he can really fulfill some of the promises he's made about sort of making the city run more like a business or being more accountable or more efficient, that will be great. But the longer this mess, sits on the kitchen counter, the harder it will be to clean up.
That's a good way to put it. I like that, Stephen. Interestingly, the mayor's also made a few new hires. Moved around some people that were there previously. Some people have some nice contracts. If it doesn't work out over here, got a guaranteed gig over here. Very interesting Santa Fe way to do business. But I'm curious, he's actually ballooning the government a little bit if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like these all extra people now. Is this the solution?
Well, I think with regard to the finance department, they need help.
Yeah, right? fresh blood wouldn't hurt, certainly.
But I don't know how much help. I mean, I would cede authority to my Santa Fe colleagues, but I mean, he's going to have a finance director, I think a controller, and then and someone also to manage audits. So that's 3 new hires. Plus, he's talking about having 10 additional audits.
Thank you. Yep.
So that's a lot of expense.
Should we give him some credit for that? He's taking this and let's take it a little bit further. Let's go all the way here
I
and
think
fix
he does
everything.
deserve
Okay.
credit. You know, when I was in litigation, I represented accounting firms. I sued accounting firms. It is very hard to get a qualified opinion. I mean, auditors want to give you an unqualified opinion, meaning your financial statements reflect what we say is actually true. You're accurately reporting what you say you have.
Gotcha.
Because audit firms are hired year over year. They work with the people. If there's a problem, they try to correct it.
Right.
And the reason audits are delayed is because they're trying to correct all the problems so they can get an unqualified opinion.
Right.
So, you know, my Santa Fe colleagues have really given you specifics, but I mean, these accounts must be a total mess. A total mess because, as Julianne said, you know, earlier in the fall, there was another audit firm that gave a whole nother opinion, and still 6 months later, they still can't correct it.
I'm glad you mentioned
that.
that.
These are June 30th, 2017
That's right.
reports, so they're a year. It's been a year.
That's right.
So
That's
this is
That's
a
right.
real mess.
There was the flare, the early warning, then the second flare,
Yeah,
which is the
right.
real, you know, now
And
it's
they still
on. So,
can't
right,
correct it.
exactly.
I would just add that
Please.
some of the reason that they're hiring people is because other people left. So the finance
Fair
director
enough.
left, so
Yep.
they're hiring a new finance director. And until he's done putting all his pieces, you can't say he ballooned the government or didn't
Okay.
balloon the government,
Yeah.
because I assume, like the deputy city manager that was there under the old administration, he has said we're not going to have a deputy city manager anymore.
Right.
So we'll see how it all shakes down in terms of whether he has more people at the top or not.
That's a good way to put it. I like that distinction. Tom, a couple of things here, which is interesting to me. 68,000 entry to balance an account for revenue from liquor licenses 6 months after the end of the fiscal year, which was sort of a fiction, and then failing to properly record a $93,000 payment to a city vendor. I mean, these are not small amounts when you think about it. Going back to the 35 grand in checks in a desk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These things start to add up to real money after a while.
Oh, it really
so my
does,
question is the confidence folks should have in Santa Fe about this. Do you know what I mean? Is Alan Weber taking the right approach to build that confidence back again?
Well, first off, you know, kudos to Julianne for her PR mastery as far as what the city of Santa Fe needs to do,
Nice.
and to you know, to Inez's approach as far as how the mayor should have handled it. You know, there's an old adage that you tell them what's wrong, and you tell them who's to blame,
Okay.
and then you say, here's how we're going to fix it. And by doing all this lead up to only release it on a Friday so it gets lost in the news cycle, such a great missed opportunity, because you know, he really had the opportunity to own it the same way that Mayor Keller in Albuquerque is owning the Albuquerque Rapid Transit issue.
I see.
It's one thing to find $20 in a pair of jeans that you go, oh, hey, look what I found. It's another to say there's $35,000 of uncashed checks. And you know, there's a lot of opportunity to build trust that Mayor Weber has the chance to do. I mean, you know, first off, get rid of the change jars. You know,
That's done.
let's professionalize
Right, that's right,
everything.
that's right.
To provide and restore trust
Right.
for residents in the city of Santa Fe.
Is there a possibility, Julianne, that, you know, some folks might get, you know, there's a thing in the air, they want heads rolled, all that kind of thing when something goes wrong, and that's a big part of our citizenry right now. Are folks just going to move on with this and just kind of deal with it, or is this going to rise to some level?
Well, I think the question about confidence is really relevant, and that's come up before. It came up after the problems were, you know, unearthed with the parks bond. That you even had a city councilor saying, one who's not sitting anymore, say, I wouldn't vote to increase taxes for the city.
Right.
You saw the sweetened beverage tax fail in Santa Fe. You know, I think some of the arguments against it that convinced folks to hold back on that were, does the city really need another multi-million-dollar tax collection effort to organize and try to get into an area they're not currently managing?
Right.
I think the other thing that, you know, as far as accountability goes, we know that the HR processes in government take a long time. But the purchasing officer whose desk was full of checks has been on leave since the McCard report, paid leave. Your tax dollars and mine. Well, your tax dollars and mine.
Right.
And so, you know, it feels when you're in the public sector and
Right.
you see heads roll or you see people sort of get punished for things that weren't their fault, it's really hard to swallow somebody earning that big government salary, being fingered for one of the, broken pieces, and then now what?
There's always a convenient scapegoat, isn't there? When there's that one person, it's always bigger than that, than any one given person. We'll see what happens there. In just a moment, we'll look at the high cost of rent here in New Mexico cities.